Okay. What did he say?
Good morning. Welcome. Before we get started, I have a little trivia, and I left my phone right over there. But in summary, because I'm never going to word this right, I don't tell jokes. So this is what happened on July 4th, 1826, to two of our U.S. presidents. They did pass away, and you named it. It was Jefferson and Adams. So while 4th of July is a celebration, it does have a grim coincidence. And there's also another president that passed away 5 years later on July 4th. Can anybody name that president? Monroe. So 3 of our founding fathers passed away on July 4th, but good try. So thank you. I want to say that with the holiday coming up, could all of our military men who served in service stand up? I know we have a few. I see them. Yep. Say it again. Oh, keep touching. Oh, yes. I'm sorry. I'm borrowing an iPad today, so I need to make sure it doesn't lock me out. So thank you very much. We're so happy to have our guest online. Thank you for joining us. We have a good number, and if any of you served in the military, raise your hand or make a motion so we can thank you as well. I see it. There we go, John Aldridge. So thank you so much for your service. It's a great day to be a Kiwanian. Kids need Kiwanis, and Kiwanis needs you. Please stand for our defining statement. Kiwanis is a global organization of volunteers dedicated to improving the world, one child and one community at a time. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Clay, do we have a song today?
We do. I think you might not need the book, Star Spangled Banner. And we'll start with a pitch about, oh, say, can you see my arms early light, but so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose stars and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bomb bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Gwen will share our invocation.
Let us pray. Our Father, accept our thanks for this day and all its blessings. Guide and direct our club, its leaders, and our actions. Grant that each of us may feel our responsibility to Kiwanis, to our community, and to our country. Bless our fellowship today and bless this food to the nourishment of our bodies. Amen.
Sorry. Thank you, Gwen. Buck, will you do our membership welfare? Do you have a microphone?
Well, thank you. We have a few membership welfare items this month. Let me start with the fact that you notice that Courtney, our secretary, is not with us today, Courtney Allen. And this is very special, but she wanted me to share this with you. Her husband, Jeff Allen, has now been diagnosed with multiple melanoma, and which is a cancer of the blood plasma, and treatments are set to begin next week. And there are going to be some tough times for that family, and I hope you will remember Courtney and her husband, Jeff, and their children in your thoughts and prayers, and be in touch with her, because she'll need Kiwanis friends more than ever in the next few weeks. Also, we're glad to have Gary Pendleton back. He had back surgery since he's been here. We're glad he's up and at it. And he's sitting right next to Phil Kirk, who broke a hip, and he's back again, and we're glad to know that. And I'm also glad to see Randy Hartley back over here. Thank you so much. And it seems like I saw somebody else that we'd missed for a while. Who else has been under the weather? Have I got anybody else?
Right here. Well, you had surgery a while back, but we're happy you're back with us in
Oh,
full
no
force.
doubt. Thank you so much. We've also this week had the 96th birthday, or 96th or 95th birthday of J.C. Knowles, who was a member of our club for years and did things. And Stacy actually went to the celebration. You might want to tell them about it for just a minute.
Sure. It was a lovely celebration celebrating J.C. Knowles for 95 years, and we each were able to share a little bit of what he meant to our club. What I didn't realize is he's a member of 7 civic organizations, and all of them had a lot to say. So we were super happy, but what is the best is when JC has the microphone. So we passed it over and we're able to hear some stories from him. So he says, greeting to the Kiwanis Club. He misses us all, and he was thankful we wished him a happy birthday. And Tarver, we just saw you here. We recognize all of our servicemen, so we're glad that you joined us, and thank you for your service. Okay. Now we'll move right into announcements. I may need some help with the microphone on that. Before we get started, Salvation Army, we had 2 events this week. One, we had Friday night dinner at the Salvation Army, and Scott and his grandson Eli served. Robbie, were you there? Did you serve Friday night at the Salvation Army? Oh, it is? No, it was last Friday, I believe. It was last Friday. That's okay, thank you. And did you get a picture of that by chance? So thank you for serving, we're certainly glad you did. And then the big news is last week we did the scoops for Salvation Army, and they, the Kiwanians with some other volunteers had over 10,000 scoops. So $10,000 was donated to the Salvation Army, so we're super excited about that. Cricket coordinated that, and I wanted to thank those who were there, and that was Alice, Gwen and Gwen's sister, and Robbie and Glenn Harrell, Jackson and Jaden. They wore the moose suit, so we had a big old time, so thank you very much. Dave, thank you for coordinating the Durham Bulls, you and Courtney. So that was a fantastic night. We had a great time, a good game, and everybody made it back safely, so that was a lot of fun, so thank you. Hugh, do you want to say a bit about the food collection? Okay, so food, we're going to update next meeting. Pancake breakfast is October the 21st, so mark your calendars. We are very fortunate. We have lots of new committee chairs, and I really would like you to look around and see who they are. I'm going to call them out today and offer to help them. Jason Tyson, raise your hand. He is coordinating the volunteer. Meredith Little, and she is coordinating the raffle and teaming up with Bill to do that. We are looking for someone to team up with Drew Cook. We have, so if you're interested, please let me know. Francis Bobby is leading the sponsorship chair, and Gwen Bass is doing our finance chair. So if you would like to help, reach out to them, and we do have signups. Jason has signups. Did you want to say anything about that? I think they're on the table. Okay, the signups are on the table. Okay, are there any other announcements? We've had a busy few weeks, a lot going on. Yes. Oh, and next we're going to move right into the guests. Thank you very much. We have a guest right here in the back.
I have as my guest today Mike Scortino, if you will stand. Mike is an NC State graduate in engineering and architecture. He's working with Summit Consulting Engineers over in Hillsborough and really in Raleigh. Prior to that, he was with S.T. Wooten Corporation for a number of years, and he and I have worked together on many construction projects over the years. He lives in Wake Forest and is a proud Wolfpacker for sure.
Okay, thank you for joining us. And a Kiwanian in Wake Forest. Meredith, I think we have a special guest. Is there a microphone beside you maybe? Is the green light on? Next generation Kiwanian right here. Here's one right here.
Daycare ran out of power today and I wanted to still come to Kiwanis, so we do what we can. This is Jean Louise Little, otherwise known as Jeannie.
Hey, Jeannie.
She is 2 years old as of April.
Well, she is precious.
And she just ate chocolate cake, so we're probably gonna bounce because she'll be bouncing off the walls here in a minute.
But thank you for coming, and Jeannie, you are welcome anytime. We have a new member induction that's going to be postponed to next week. And then we have we have some more guests. Oh, that is not, okay, Phil, you have jinxed me today. I actually told Phil, I was like, if you need a ride, I'm happy to take you to the meeting next week. And he's like, sure, I'll be ready. And he got here today, he said, are you tricking me? Because we don't have a meeting next week. You're exactly right, thank you. And we have one more announcement, and that is April. I'm gonna tell you a minute, and then April's gonna tell you more. April actually donated the dictionaries for Leesville Elementary School, the 3rd grade, and she donated them on behalf of Kiwanis, and she went and handed them out. So thank you, April. And April, do you want to tell us what you have?
Bring a dictionary, you're welcome to take the extra dictionaries home. The kids went bananas. They loved it. It's more than just words. And in fact, in light of our song of the day, it's just funny that randomly the very first thank you note I have here says, Mr. Brody, he's one of the volunteers that came with us, thank you for my dictionary. I will enjoy learning the Star Spangled Banner. Jet, XOXO. So I was very excited that Stacy, Hugh, Douglas Brody, who is either a member or past member of this club, but he's the liaison of the dictionary project, and my team went out to Leesville to hand out the dictionaries for each one of the 1st grade classes. I've got dozens of letters here, and they are just as adorable, if not even more cute, as the one I just read. So I'll leave them over there by the badges, so take a minute and take a look at the letters and get your heart tickled.
Thank you so much. And it was a fun day. So now, Buck, will you introduce our speaker today?
Well, thank you, Stacy. This is an important day for me because today's speaker represents 3/4 of the speakers that I'm responsible for this year. So we're in the home stretch right now. Let me tell you just 2 things that are coming up. I've been able to secure the 2 top golfers from the Meredith golf team. The first game of golf that they played, one of those 2 golfers scored 268 points. Now, yeah, that's on a 70 par, and still made the team, worked hard. This is going to be about motivation, and she's going to play golf with me next year. I tell you, anybody that hit 268, I want them to be on my team. And also, you'll see this morning, it was announced that Caroline Farmer would be talking the first week after we get back. And we've had to move one around because Dr. Megan Jacob from the College of Veterinary Medicine will be with us the Friday after 4th of July. Now, for today's talk on what we can do for you by the North Carolina Forest Service. And we're proud to have Rob Robertson, who's a service forester with the Forest Service, which is part of the North Carolina Department of Agriculture. Rob attended Virginia Tech. He earned his BS degree in forestry. He's been with the Forest Service for 33 years, 3 years in Elizabeth City and the remainder of the time in Hillsborough, where he's assigned, and Hillsborough is part of, the Hillsborough office takes care of Wake County, and he's had Wake County as his responsibility for 30 years. He also now has Granville and Vance counties. Please welcome Rob Robertson from the Forestry Service.
Well, good afternoon. I appreciate the invitation to be here today. And one thing I just want to make sure, we run into this all the time, but I am with the North Carolina Forest Service. We are not with the U.S. Forest Service. That is a federal organization. So we are a total state agency serving the citizens of North Carolina. And several years, well, it's been more than several years ago, we did become part of the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. So there's a lot of things that we can provide services to anyone in North Carolina. You can be somebody that owns 1 acre, you can be somebody that owns a house lot, you can be somebody that owns 1,000 or more acres of trees or whatever. So I'm going to go through some of the different services that we can offer people, and a lot of people aren't aware of this. And of course, what we get a lot on a rainy day, we might be out at lunch or something, and people will come up to us all the time and say, hey, it's raining today. What are y'all doing? There ain't no fires. And of course, you know, that's what most people know us for, is fire. So one of the things we do is fire response. And we do this in a lot of ways. We as an agency, we do have personnel in all 100 counties in the state. And those people might range from 1 person in the county to as many as 8 people. And sometimes we have seasonal employees that may bring it up to more than 8. That has traditionally been based on the fire problems that we have in the county as to the staffing. But we do have representation in all 100 counties. We then, all the counties are split up into what we call districts. So we have the county split up. We have 13 districts. Hillsborough is our local district that serves 8 counties, including Wake. And then all of that is then split up into 3 regions, basically the coastal plain, the Piedmont, and the mountains. And then we go up to our central office organization. And we have various people at the central office that works in various parts of some of the things we do. So that's kind of the organization. But for fires, we are responsible for wildfires. Used to be called forest fires all the time, but we've gotten away from that because it's not just forest fires. You have brushland, you have grassland, you have other parts of open land that all burn. So we now respond to them as wildfires. And we have the people in the counties that will respond. They are responsible for that. We assist a lot of the local fire departments. If a fire gets big enough, we can actually take it over. And we have incident management teams that will respond as the fires get bigger and bigger, and we need more resources. We build as needed to respond to the fire. So fire is the one big thing that everybody knows us for, and we do that readily. We have some law enforcement there. We have certain laws that allow us to do certain things. We have a whole separate law enforcement division that will come into the county, and where the county needs help investigating or even prosecuting people, we bring our law enforcement guys in to do that. So fire. But what else do we do as emergency besides fire? We are a state declared emergency organization. So we respond to basically anything that we are called to assist with. We help with hurricane response. We help with chainsaws on hurricanes, tornadoes. Like I said, a lot of times we'll send out chainsaw crews to help clear roads and other things. But we also provide other assistance to those. We have helped staff relief centers. We have helped distribute water. So, I mean, tornadoes, hurricanes, with flooding issues, we can respond. Once again, we help support the relief efforts. We will man relief centers with distribution of water, goods, that kind of thing. So tornadoes, hurricanes, ice storms, when the power goes out, they need chainsaws to help clear stuff. We get called in. ice storms and snowstorms, we have also responded with not only the snow, you get the power lines down, once again, the chainsaws, but we have bulldozers, and we have been called out before to help clear roads for the state. Years ago, it's probably been close to 20 years, we had a big snowstorm here. I-85 up near Oxford, they had a big major problem on I-85, tractor trailers couldn't move. We were called in with our bulldozers to help move those units so they could get I-85 open again. So we also have had in parts of the state down near New Bern, it's been a couple years ago, they had a train car accident. They had a hazmat situation. Some of our folks from down there actually were called in to help with response to that by setting up an incident management team to help manage all the resources. So there are a lot of other things. If it's emergency related, we can be called in, and like I said, we have people all across the state, anywhere from 1 to 8 people, but we're like a lot of bumblebees. We can be called together where needed. So we respond statewide. You're not just sitting there in your own county. If they have something in the western part of the state and they need people, we can be called over there. So that's kind of how we're responsible for the whole state in a lot of ways, is going where we need to. So that's the emergency part of it, not just fire, but all the other things. So then the other thing that a lot of people don't realize that we do provide forest management assistance to citizens of the state. So anybody that owns land and they want to manage their trees for forestry, or if they want to manage their forest to increase wildlife habitat, we can come in, we can help prepare a forest management plan for them. And this can tell them what they need to do to help achieve their objective, whether it be selling timber to get income, or a lot of people now, they want to manage their forest. They're not concerned about the income. That's a nice thing, but they really want to improve wildlife habitat. One of the best ways to improve a lot of wildlife habitat is doing forest management practices. And forest management can be in a wide array of things. It can be timber harvesting. It can be actually prescribed fire, and a lot of other things that we have in our toolkit to help manage this stuff. If we write a forest management plan, this is one of the few services that we actually charge. We charge $5 an acre for the plan, but that's available to anybody in North Carolina. If you have open land, a field that, for example, that you're retiring because it's not good for agriculture anymore, want to plant it in trees, we can come out, we can help write what we call a regeneration plan on how to establish trees and manage those trees to get them going. So there is no charge for a regeneration plan. We also have other things that we call practice plans, where we actually, landowner will come to us as an example, they want to thin their trees. And thinning is something you would use to help improve your growth and help maintain the health of the stand. Well, they want to receive recommendations on how to do that. We can come look at that and write you a plan on how to go about doing that. One thing that we cannot do, we are forbidden as a state agency. We cannot cruise timber. We cannot give you a valuation for timber. We will refer you to private consultant foresters for that kind of service. But the basis of getting a plan laid down where you can look at it and say, these are the steps I need to take, that's the kind of work that we can help do. And there's a lot of other different plans. We have what we call a forest stewardship plan. That's landowners that might want to do multiple objectives. There's 16 different objectives we address in those plans. Wildlife habitat, timber, water quality, air quality, all that gets addressed in those plans. So for somebody that wants a multiple management plan, we can write those. There is a charge for that, $5 an acre for that. If you're interested in being in tree farm is a state, it's an agency, and not an agency, but it's a group in North Carolina, the tree farm program. They help manage trees, and the big thing to this, it is a wood certification program. With that wood certification, you have a lot of timber companies, paper companies, other products. They will not buy your wood products unless it comes from a sustainable program, meaning you're managing for continued forest management. So one of the benefits of being in tree farm is you are in a sustainable forestry program, and that will help get your timber sold. They may, in some cases, even bring you a little bit better price. we can write tree farm plans, and we would charge $5 an acre for that. So there's the forest management end, where we're helping any landowner help manage for trees to whatever objective they have. In a lot of cases, like in forest stewardship or where a landowner has wildlife objectives, if it's something that we don't have the knowledge of, we will reach out to other agencies like North Carolina Wildlife Resources and actually get a biologist to come in and look at it and help devise wildlife recommendations. So sometimes we will reach out to other organizations, agencies, to help get the information we need. So besides forest management, a lot of people also aren't aware, we will provide assistance to anyone on yard trees and shade trees. So if you own a 1/4 acre lot in Raleigh and you're concerned about your trees out there, why they're looking ugly, why they're looking dead, whatever, we can be called and we will come out and do an assessment on those trees. There is no charge for that. So, that's another thing that we do. And then statewide, we are also responsible for insect and disease control. We do this through the counties on a lot of initial requests. We also have a disease and insect branch higher up in the organization where we will reach out often to them to come and help assess the situation. They're also responsible for monitoring across the state. We have a whole wide array of invasive species out here that constantly turn up. It's a never-ending battle. Most of them seem to come from Asian countries. They come over here and they thrive because there's no natural enemy. The habitat is perfect for them. So it's a constant battle with new diseases, new insects coming in. One of the things that's big insect-wise is pine beetles. They can be very devastating. There's different kinds of pine beetles. And we'll get a lot of calls from landowners. Hey, my pines look like they're dying. We go out, we help diagnose what it is, and then we'll tell them how to manage it. We also do annual flights in the winter and summer for southern pine beetle. So we are responsible, like I said, for insect and disease. We do that through our regular forest management. And then, like I said, anybody that has a house, that has a yard, if they have a concern, we're out there. All I got to do is call the county office and say, hey, please come look at it. We as an agency, we have our own state tree seedling nursery. It's down in Goldsboro, and then we have another unit up in the mountains near Morganton, which they do more of the cold weather species. But we offer for sale, I think it's somewhere around 100 different species, and it changes every year depending on seed. We actually go out and collect our own seed. And we will find landowners that if they have a good nut tree in their yard or a seed tree, because some of these are not all acorns, some of it is berries and freshly fruit. So we will actually go out and collect that. Now there are certain things that we will buy seed from, but we grow them every year. This current year, our seedlings go for sale July 5th, and they're packaged anywhere from, I think you can buy a packet of 10 trees to we have tree contractors that plant trees that will buy millions of them. So they're for sale for anybody in North Carolina that wants to buy them. Like I said, this year they go on sale July 5th. As part of the nursery program, we actually have a tree improvement program where the tree improvement is responsible for going out and they're breeding and testing trees, trying to get them to improve. For example, like loblolly pine, which is a very favorite tree for timber in North Carolina. They're trying to do certain disease characteristics, certain form that makes timber better. So they're trying to breed all these different things into the trees. And then we offer these improved seedlings to any landowner in North Carolina. And there is a wide array of seedlings that you can buy from. Basically, we're offering what we call our third cycle loblolly pines right now. But you can go to other organizations that have genetically improved and basically in some cases clones. We don't do that. We're doing just genetic improvements. But a landowner can buy them from us or like I said, some of the private companies if they want the really expensive, faster growing trees. So a lot of people aren't aware of the tree nursery that we operate as a state agency. Forest protection, I've already covered some of the things like the emergency response and the insects and disease. We as a state agency also own, I think right now, we have 7 educational state forests across the state and 2 what we call, well, actually 1 is a state forest, 1 is a recreational and educational state forest. We manage those as demonstration areas, but also for recreation. The closest, well, we have 2 in the local area. 1 is down at Clemens Educational State Forest, and 1 down at Jordan Lake Educational State Forest. They are open. The rangers at those state forests offer educational opportunities for schools if they want to come out. There's a wide array of different presentations they can give them. So it's there to help educate the public and show different types of management practices. There, once again, for showing people different things they can do. We also are available, like today, to come out and give talks. We go to a lot of schools. Smokey Bear is very big. Everybody wants to see Smokey Bear. But we can also give other talks on different forest management subjects or whatever things that they might want that we have knowledge in. We also work with a lot of schools with their FFA clubs and their environmental teams that go to state competitions. We work with them a lot of times and help give them the forestry component and some of the environmental things forestry is brought into it. So we're available to go out and provide that to teachers in different clubs. So we also are responsible for water quality related issues to forest management. So forest management, once again, it could be timber harvesting, it could be some of the practices that we do, part of reforestation, but anytime there's an activity that could affect water quality, and that's not just streams and lakes and ponds, that is also below ground water. You know, if you have a logging operation where the guy's equipment is leaking hydraulic fuel and it's seeping into the ground, that can be a groundwater problem. So we're responsible on all these forestry related activities for going out and inspecting them. We get that either through our own knowledge, we will get lots of citizen complaints, but we will go check it, and if it's a problem, we take appropriate action. Some of the things we actually enforce, some of the things we actually refer to another agency that has the appropriate power. But we are the initial response there on determining those water quality things. So that is a wide array of many things that we do. And there's probably some that I haven't mentioned, but I mean, if you can just about think of it, we probably can provide some type of service to you. And you can call your local county ranger to get a request made. I do have over on the sheet, over on the table, there's 2 sheets there. One is talking about forest management plans and why you should have one. And on the back is another one, what we can do for you, that kind of summarizes what I've talked about. But there's also, each county office is listed on the back of there, and it has their phone numbers. And also something that I failed to mention, and this is important that a lot of people don't know about. When you're doing forestry, there is opportunity to do some work and actually get what we call cost share assistance. Cost share assistance means you do the work, you pay for it, and then you can get reimbursed a certain amount for it. There's a whole lot of programs out there. These programs come and go, they constantly change, but as a general rule, you know, most of the ones you could get anywhere from about 40% to 75% reimbursement. It just depends on how that program works. But you would need to, in order for these, you would have to go to the appropriate agency. Some of these is Farm Service Agency, which is a federal agency, Soil and Water Conservation, which is a state agency, Natural Resources. But if we're working with you as a landowner and writing plans, we will typically refer you to whatever program is available at that time that can assist you. So there is a lot of cost share assistance. Another reason to have a management plan is if you have more than 20 acres of woodland and you're not utilizing it, you can get your property tax reduced greatly. In most counties, it takes the tax value of the land and it actually reduces it down to where you're being charged based on somewhere between $200 and $300 an acre is what they use as the tax value, because you're growing timber and it is a long-term investment, so that is an incentive there. There are certain requirements to be in the program, certain things you have to follow, but it is a big way, particularly in these more urbanized counties, to help be able to maintain your land ownership and keep it out there at a fair price on your taxes. So that in a nutshell, as far as I can think, I've covered a lot, and I'll see if there's any other questions. Okay, yes, we do still have our Air Force, as we call it. It has been changed. It is no longer at Kinston, because Kinston took over down there, the jet port. And we also, there was a review done several years ago, and based on the recommendations of that review, we kind of changed. So we now have operations out of Duplin County Airport. We have at Sanford, and then we have at Hickory. We have some planes that we use for what we call scout planes. So if you're out on a fire and you need to know what's going on, the fire is bigger than what you can see, we can call for aerial assistance, where the pilot will fly above and he kind of tells us what he sees down below and helps us do the fire. We also use those planes for like the pest and disease monitoring, where we need to do aerial surveys. We then have what we call some seats, and seats means single engine air attack. And they can carry about 500 gallons of water. We have them configured in 2 doors. So you can tell them, I want one door and then the next door. You can tell him I only want one door open, or you can tell him I want both doors open simultaneously. And it all depends on how you want him to put that water on the fire. They also are equipped to where we can put a foam suppressant agent or a fire retardant in there, which helps more than just plain water. And then we have also some helicopters. We use them for, they have Bambi buckets where they can dip in a pond or any water source. I believe those buckets can get about 250 gallons of water to drop on the fire. We can also use them for aerial reconnaissance as needed, and even for some insect and disease. So we still maintain an Air Force to do various things. Big birds. Okay, what do you call them, a big bird? We don't really have any big airplanes. We have one, and I think it was like it's like the equivalent of an old DC-3 that we use as a cargo plane for where we're using suppressants and need to load the seats and stuff. That is basically loaded with the equipment that we need to fly to the airport. We do have certain airports around the state that we have recognized as mobile retardant stations, meaning that's where we can land, set up our operations where we're actually loading the airplanes or helicopters as we need to with the retardant in the water.
We've got time for one more question.
Did y'all, excuse me, did you guys address the Pilot Mountain fire a couple of years ago in Surrey County? And also, it seems like there's a lot of standing dead timber up in the Blue Ridge area that, you know, it looks like it's just a matter of the time before that sucker goes up like a matchbox. Is that something you guys would eventually do the thinning out on, or is that a federal problem?
Okay, so which fire was it in Surrey County?
Pilot Mountain.
Pilot Mountain, okay. So Pilot Mountain has burned several times over about the last probably 10 or 15 years. A lot of that was started by State Park. Pilot Mountain was on State Park and they were doing prescribed burning operations. The fire got away from them, and they have on several occasions called us in to help put the fire out. So I know there's been 2 or 3 responses to fires on Pilot Mountain. We also have helped state parks do some prescribed burning. The reason they're doing prescribed burning out there is, one, they're trying to reduce the actual fire hazard. It's also related to ecosystem restoration. So that's why they're using fire out there. And then as far as the dead trees, you know, there's a lot of federal land out there, so I'm not sure if you're talking to stuff on federal lands, which I really can't address. If it's on private land, you know, if we find it during some of these surveys or landowner calls, we can help them address the situation. But on the private land, it's really up to the landowner to do. But like I said, in certain circumstances, southern pine beetles, if it becomes a big enough threat, we do, as a state agency, have the recourse to come in and mandate some things. Right now, people may have heard of the spotted lanternfly. This was found, it's a new invasive plant. It was just found out in Guilford County. There was 2 spots out there, and working with the Department of Agriculture, plant and disease people, we have actually gone in and done some felling operations to help control those spots. So I don't know if that kind of hits on your, somebody else.
Thank you for being with us today. Thank you.
Okay.
So thank you so much. I know there are a few more questions. If you have a second, we'll stay with us. Stay with me for 1 second. I think you'll be able to, Rob will answer your questions after the meeting. Yeah. Rob, we donate a book to elementary school class, and what we're going to ask you to do is sign this, and we're going to donate it in honor of you. Okay. Here you go. I'll move this over. And there's a pen. So let's give a great round of applause for Rob. Thank you. Fantastic. Next, we are going to have a resolution. I'm going to ask Hamp to come forward. Before I turn it over to Hamp, I want to say happy 4th of July. Thank you for your service. Thank you for what you do. Please be safe and have a wonderful holiday weekend. Hamp's going to share with us a resolution for John Beeman. And then we will close with a moment of silence.
Thank you, Stacy. I got to know John Beeman at our church, primarily at White Memorial, and quite a fellow. And I'm honored to do his resolution. Whereas John Edward Beeman Jr., son of John Edward Beeman and Mary Frances Bowen Beeman, was born on November the 5th, 1929 in Raleigh, North Carolina, and died on December the 10th, 2021 at age 92 in Raleigh. And whereas John Edward Beeman Jr. served in the United States Navy aboard the USS Glennon, a destroyer during the Korean War, he was a dedicated employee of Hudson Belt Company for over 30 years, serving as a lead buyer, vice president, and merchandise controller. He retired in 1995, and whereas John Edward Beeman Jr. was a longtime active member of White Memorial Church, he had a passion for community service and was an active volunteer at Habitat for Humanity of Wake County. He had a strong commitment and love for his family, and he is to be remembered for his strength, grace, honesty, and humble devotion to others as a true Southern gentleman. And whereas John Edward Beeman Jr. was predeceased by his parents, his wife of 57 years, Virginia Boots Beeman, his oldest son, John, his daughter-in-law, Cheryl, and 3 sisters, Frances, June, and Johnsey, he was survived by his son, William, and wife, Leslie, his son, Michael, 5 grandchildren, and several other relatives. And whereas John Edward Beeman Jr. joined the Kiwanis Club of Raleigh, North Carolina in 2005 and was an active, dependable, and valued member for 16 years. He received the C.A. Dillon Jr. Fellowship Award and the Walter Zeller Fellowship Award. And whereas John Edward Beeman Jr. was a loving family man who opened his heart and offered sound advice and counsel to his friends, to his children and grandchildren, and to the members of the Kiwanis Club of Raleigh, North Carolina, who recognize him as a suitable role model for any citizen who seeks to make a positive impression among his family and to leave his community a better place than he found it. And whereas the Kiwanis Club of Raleigh, North Carolina desires to recognize, honor, and emulate the life of John Edward Beeman Jr. and the quality of the relationships he built, therefore be it resolved that the Kiwanis Club of Raleigh, North Carolina hereby memorializes the life of a loyal member, John Edward Beeman Jr., celebrates his career, and commends to all a life well lived and a demonstrated dedication to his family, to his friends, to his church, and to his community. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be spread among the minutes of the Kiwanis Club of Raleigh, North Carolina, and be it finally resolved that a copy of the resolution be provided to the Beeman family as an expression of the affection and respect of the Kiwanis Club of Raleigh, North Carolina, for its member, John Edward Beeman Jr. Adopted unanimously by its members this, the 30th day of June, 2023.
Do I hear a motion? Okay, second? Let's take a vote. All in favor, say aye. Any opposition? The ayes have it. Please bow your head for a moment of silence.